The rooftop keycard with my name glowing green. The keycard shouldn't have known who I was. It was the generic kind, gray stripe, no logo meant to work for anyone with clearance and a reason. But as I tapped it against the reader by the service elevator, the screen flashed a soft, uncanny green and spelled out my name, letter by letter like a courtesy I hadn't asked for. EVANS under it. A short message crawled across the tiny LCD where numbers usually live. Rooftop 41 955J. I repair lamps for a living, real ones, with shades and switches and filaments that sigh when you convince them to behave. The old fixtures pass through my shop like tired travelers, porcelain sockets, cloth-wrapped cords, brass that remembers how to shine. My world smells like linen and ozone. My partner, Lucas, is a brand director at the museum that mistakes schedule for oxygen. We've been together 5 years. The good bowls live on the middle shelf. We keep 2 thick glasses by the sink because we made a rule out of water. Pour first, then speak the sentence that changes a day. Lucas came home late from a sponsor's dinner the night before with cedar on his collar and the kind of calm that announces itself like a verdict. He kissed my cheek with a precision that made me want to move half an inch just to spite accuracy. He undressed in the hall, a man careful with hinges. "They're unveiling the new rooftop tonight," he'd said that morning when we still belonged to daylight. "After hours with the donors. Come up if you feel like it. Or don't." The "don't" wore a softness I wanted to ignore. I wasn't invited by anyone who'd remember to introduce me. I went because generic plastic knew my name. The elevator smelled like cleaning fluid and a decision. At 41, the doors sighed open onto a lobby eating its own reflection. To the right, a short hallway and a last reader waiting to be told the future. I tapped the card. It glowed green again, obedient and immodest. Beyond the glass, the rooftop spread itself. A waist-high wall of tempered glass, plinths pretending to understand the sky, a narrow bar staffed by a man who looked like good posture. The city threw its light around as if it had money. 2 glasses of water already sweated on a small marble table near the exit sign like intention had a shape. He was there, of course, Julian. I knew him from articles that couldn't resist adjectives. The museum's outside curator without a title, hired to make donors think gravity was negotiable. Taller up close, dark hair refusing perfection, a mouth that spoke like it enjoyed being believed. He wore a jacket unbuttoned one confession further than polite. He smelled like cedar. Apparently my city had a favorite sin. "You came," he said, not triumph, relief. "You wrote my name into a machine," I said, setting my hand on the reader as if I might steady the night. It felt rude to ignore hospitality. He didn't come closer. He stood inside the light from the exit sign like someone who knows how to put himself where the room accidentally looks. "He thinks he's meeting me to end something politely after the champagne," he said. "He promised to be decent before dessert. I thought you deserved the air first." "How long?" I asked, because arithmetic doesn't blush. 8 months, he said, and didn't disguise it. Rain and an elevator the night the board decided the roof should pretend to be a sculpture, a lobby that sells permission with carpet. I ended it twice. He sent me a photo of your breakfast and a complaint about a label font. I respected the sentence and hated myself for it. He reached toward the nearest glass and slid it across the table to me. Our fingers grazed. Heat arrived through the bones of my hand and kept going as if nerve endings were a hill it intended to climb. He took half a step and paused with an inch of air between his forefinger and my wrist. That inch had temperature. He did not close it. Somewhere, a compressor in the wine fridge clicked like a witness remembering details. "I didn't ask you up here to make you admire me," he said. "Secrets pretend they weigh something until you put them in the right weather." The door from the stairwell opened. I didn't need to turn. Lucas's voice reached first, that careful docent pitch he keeps for donors who like to be corrected tenderly. Then the sound of the door closing as if it deserved dignity. He came into the geometry of the roof and saw us. Two glasses, a table near an exit, the half-inch that had learned to speak. "Okay," he said, "the word did its job." "You could have kept the card out of our kitchen," I said. "You chose not to." "I chose incompetence," he said, "and then cowardice." He didn't reach for self-forgiveness. I loved him for that and hated what love means sometimes. I cheated. I told myself it was weather. I told myself home is a noun that survives rain. I told myself your patience was elastic because you make old things behave. I pretended spark was structure. I want to stop hearing me. Julian moved toward the parapet the way decent men make way for oxygen. His hand lifted again, almost to my neck, then held that now familiar inch as if restraint were a language he was trying to learn fluently. He lowered his hand with a discipline that felt indecent in its kindness. "What do you want me to do?" Lucas asked. He stood with his hands in view, as if wrists could resign before you ask them to sign anything. "You'll end it," I said. "You'll sleep on the couch we refuse to call a guest anything. Next week you'll tell me what this was twice. Once in your museum voice that spackles bone with narrative, once with small words. I'll decide what my hands can hold without lying to my wrists." "I'll do that," he said. Julian stepped close enough that his breath found the place under my ear where skin keeps secrets and air negotiates. He didn't touch me. He said, quiet enough to be decent, "Thank you for not making me a story," and left, the door refusing to turn itself into punctuation. We did not touch. We leaned our elbows on the marble table in the way of boys who learned not to set fires out of boredom. The skyline made its convincing argument for night. Somewhere behind us, stemware chimed like polite weather. "I'm not leaving," I said. "We'll walk home without touching. We'll wait at crosswalks because other people's knees and our better natures both deserve seconds. You'll sleep on the couch. Tomorrow you'll end it without complimenting him. Next week you'll bring me small words." He nodded. He didn't cry. I love him for that, and for the shame that says crying would be a better scene than repair. He returned to the donors. I watched someone propose a toast to air as if air needed applause. We took the slow stairs down because elevators tell stories I didn't want to hear. In the lobby, a security guard watched us go the way night watches everyone. Not suspicious, just uninterested in making a myth. On the sidewalk, a cyclist cut the corner wrong and Lucas reached in reflex. His palm hovered near my hip like an apology that understands its own limits. He'd offered me a small yes and I said no, out loud, and let it be an adult sound. At home the kettle auditioned and then performed adequately. He laid blankets on the couch with the care of a man plating a quiet dish. He has a talent for making small things look like decisions. I slept like a wrench put back in the drawer teeth first. In the morning he went to the lobby that sells permission and came back smelling like nothing, the only cologne I planned to accept for a while. He said he had ended it. He told me truth twice. The museum version made it bearable. The small words did the actual work. "I liked being two men," he said. "One of them didn't have to be tired. I mistook adrenaline for architecture. I can be one person if you let me do the job." I let him. It's unromantic and it's what we had. He slept on the couch for 6 nights and learned our apartment's geography again. The polite distance between the bathroom light and the drawer with the extra dish towels. The way dawn lands on the counter when you don't fall asleep in time to pretend you meant to. On the 7th, he came to bed quietly and remembered my mouth with the slow accuracy we earned early and almost forgot. There is a kind of erotics that appears shyly, like a hand hovering above the skin and getting credit for learning the difference between want and harm. We gave that credit. We slept, both of us, as if we'd told the right truth to the right air. Julian texted 2 days later, "Thank you for telling the truth on a roof designed to lie about sky." I replied, "Try it in a stairwell." He didn't answer. Second best thing he did. Work stayed work, which is the point. I rebuilt a three-way switch for an antique pharmacy lamp and felt brass agree to cooperate. A teenager brought in a cracked banker's shade and I glued it while making him rotate the pieces himself. His hands shook, then stilled, and he watched the seam disappear as if repair were a trick he could learn. A real estate agent tried to talk me into lighting a listing so it would lie better. I told him light is honest. He didn't call back. I slept well. A week later, I saw Julian on the museum steps. He looked smaller, or else my anger had retired from needing him to be tall. He had a tote and an expression that said he'd come to the city planning meeting just to watch people fight about bike lanes. He said hello without asking to own my afternoon. He did not smell like cedar. We stood under the awning until it became a roof for regular weather. Then we left without acting out a moral. Here is the part that doesn't earn applause but is truer than drama. I wanted him. I wanted the inch, the heat of a hand just before it takes, the courtesy of a mouth that knows better than to land. I wanted the risk you can narrate afterward and still enjoy. I did not take it. Wanting is a sentence, not a command. Bodies vote. Ethics count. Boredom is a mercy if it lets you like yourself at noon. Lucas and I changed the frame. 2 glasses before 3 sentences. He keeps his phone face down in a bowl by the door like a man who knows containers matter. I leave the keycard from that night in the kitchen drawer, a gray rectangle among rubber bands and spare fuses, the innocuous category where temptation goes to learn humility. We stand near exits at openings not because we plan to leave, but because doors teach rooms to breathe. Sometimes, in the middle of rewiring a stubborn lamp, I think about the half-inch. How erotic it is to choose not to cross it. How adult it feels to name it and then let it live. I solder a new lead and insulate it and imagine the way current will travel. Eager, invisible, useful. And how all we ask it to do is light a room without burning what it touches. It's a good metaphor if you don't bully it. If another keycard ever glows my name green, I will bring water. I will sit where the exit is obvious and refuse to call that cowardice. If a hand rises toward my throat, I will allow the inch to exist and answer with a decision that survives daylight. I will keep choosing verbs that keep us possible. End, stay, tell, work, touch, wait. And when a filament warms and the shade accepts that it is not a mask but a lens, when light finds its level and refuses to be theatrical, I will remember a rooftop designed for performances, and the night we practiced something better than spectacle. I will call that quiet air the most difficult thing I know how to make, and the only thing that still holds when applause forgets its lines.